4. Their houses are large and fair, and, unless at some odd occasions, unperceivable by vulgar eyes, like Reichland and other enchanted islands, having for lights continual lamps and fires, often seen without fuel to sustain them. Women are yet alive who tell they are taken away when the childbeds and nurse fairy children, a lingering voraciousness imagined them, being left in their place, like the reflection in a mirror, which, as it were some insatiable spirit as one assumed body, made first semblance to devour the meats of the cunning carried by, and then left in carafes as if when expired or departed, thence by a natural and common death. The child and fire, with flood and other necessities, are set before the nurse how soon she enters, but she neither perceives any passengers out, nor feels that the people do other rooms in the lodging. When the child is weaned, the nurse dies or is conveyed back, and gets to, by her choice, to stay there. But if any superterraneans be so subtle to the practice flights of procuring the privacy to any of their mysteries, such as making use of their ointments, which as Gangrel's ring takes them into invisible or nimble, and casts them into a trance, or alters their shape, or makes things appear as vast distance, and etc., they smite them without pain, as with a puff of wind, and bereave them both the natural and acquired sights of the twinkling of an eye. Both these sights were once to come, being from the same organ and inseparable, or they strick them dumb. The Tramontans in this day of bread and Bible, or a piece of iron in women's beds when traveling, to save them from their being thus stolen, and they commonly report that all uncouth, unknown whites are terrified by nothing earthly so much as by cold iron. They deliver the reason to be that hell lying betwixt the chill tempest and the firebrands of scalding metals, and iron of the north, hence the lodestone causes a tendency to that point. And by an apathy thereto, these odious Farsang's creatures shrug and fright all that place hence relating to so abhorred a place, whence their torment is either begun or feared to come thereafter. 5. Their apparel and speech is like that of the people and country under which they live. So they are seen to wear plaids and various garments in the Highlands of Scotland, and Sucknocks therefore in Ireland. They speak but little, and by that of the whistling clear and rough. The very devils conjured by the country do answer to the language of the place, yet sometimes the subterraneans speak more distinctly than any other times. The women are said to be spine and fine, to dye and toff, and to embroider, but whether it is as usual operation their substantial refined stuffs with apt and solid instruments, or only curious cobwebs and palpable rainbows, and fantastic imitation of the actions more terrestrial mortals, since it is transcended all the senses of the seer to discern whether I leave the conjecture as I found it. 6. 3 men travel much abroad, either prefaced or gaping the dismal, and tragically actions of some amongst us, and have also many disastrous doings of their own, and convocations, fighting, gashes, wounds, and burials, both in the earth and air. They live much longer than we, yet die at last, or at least vanish from the state. As in with their tenants, that nothing perseth, but as a sun and year, everything goes in a circle, lesser or greater, and is renewed, refreshed by revolutions. It is another that every body in creation moves, which is a sort of life, and that nothing moves but has another animal moving on it, and so on, for the utmost minutest corpuscle that's available in the receptacle of life. 7. They are said to have aristocratical rulers and laws, but no discernible religion, love, or devotion towards God, the blessed Maker of all, They disappear whenever they hear his name invoked, or the name of Jesus, at which all do bow willingly or by constraint that dwell above and beneath within the earth. Vote 2:10. Nor can they act aught the time after hearing that sacred name. The tabhavashir, or seer, that corresponds with a kind of familiars, can bring them a spell to appear with himself or others when he pleases, as readily as and/or witch of those of their kind. He tells they're ever readiest to go on hurtful errands, and seldom will be in the messengers of a great good to men. He is not terrified at their sight when he calls them, but seeing them in a surprise, as he often does, frights him extremely. And glad would he be quite of such, for the hideous spectacles seen among them, as the torturing of some whites, earnest ghosts and staring looks, skirmishes and the like, they do not at all the harm which apparently they have power to do, nor are they perceived to be in great pain, save that they are unusually silent and sullen. They are said to have many pleasant, toyish books, but the operation of these pieces only appears in some paroxysms and antic of cordiality and jollity, as if ravished and prompted by a new spirit entering into them at an instant, lighter and merrier than their own. Other books they have involved abstruse sense, like Whitmer-Secarian style. They have nothing of the Bible, save the collected parcels of charms and counter-charms, not to defend themselves withal, but to operate on other animals, for they are a people invulnerable to wire weapons, and albeit werewolves and witches, or true bodies, are, by the union of the spirit of nature that runs through us all, echoing and doubling the blow towards another, wounded at home when the astral-assumed bodies are stricken elsewhere, as the strings of a second harp tuned to one union. Sounds, though, only one can be struck, yet these people are not to be second or so gross a body at all as to be so pierced, but as air which, when divided against itself, divided units again, or if they feel pain by a blow, they are better physicians than we, and quickly cure it. They are not subject to sore sickness, but dwindle and decay to a certain period, all about the same age. Some say their continual sadness is because of their pendulous state, like those men, Luke 13:2-6, as uncertain what's that the last revolution will become of them, when they are locked up into an unchangeable condition, and if they have any frolic fits of mirth, 'tis the constrained grinning of the morted, or rather is acted on a stage, and moved by another than their own, cordially coming of themselves. But other men of the second sight, being illiterate and unwary of the observations, learn from those, when averring those subterranean people be the departed souls attending in while a superior state, and clothed with bodies procured throughout their homesteads and the life, fluid, active, ethereal vehicles to hold them, that they may neither scatter or wander, and be lost in the totem, and their first nothing. But if any were so impious to have given no alms, they say when the souls of such do depart, they sleep in the unactive state until they resume the terrestrial bodies again. Others, that what the Low Country Scots call the wreath, and the Irish banshee, or death's messenger, appearing for sometimes as a little rough dog, if costs in the conjured in time, will be pacified by the death of any other creature instead of the sick man. It is only envious fumes of the man approaching death, exhaled and congealed into various lightness, as ships and armies are sometimes apt to shape, sometimes shaped in the air, and called astral bodies, agitated with wildfire with wind, and are neither souls or counterfeiting spirits. Yet not a few vouch, as is said, that Cyrillicles are numerous peoples by themselves having their own policy, which diversities in judgments may occasion several inconsistencies. This Reherval, after narrowest scrutiny made about it,